Hey, it's Buddy Lee. Welcome to my channel. In this video, I'll be putting together a guide for one of my favorite champions, Ihulk. And we'll start out by just going over his abilities before testing them out. First, his Gamma Mutate. This gives him full immunity to poisons. His regeneration rate cannot be altered, but keep in mind that Heal Block will still shut it down. And he gains up to 3,169 attack based upon how much health Ihulk has lost during the fight. So you'll notice his attacks are hitting harder the longer the fight goes on. Next is his Rage mechanic. This is a big one for getting Ihulk's huge damage rate. And max Rage is capped at 25. So Ihulk's medium attacks, his first hit of the SP1 and his first and last hit of his SP2 are the attacks that will build Rage. Each time you land one of these Rage attacks, you have 2 seconds to land another one or they'll all fall off. However, during the defender's special attacks they are paused, which was a huge change that they made to Ihulk thanks to the CCP feedback. How these Rage attacks work is for each stack you deal a burst of 475 physical damage, so once you build them up they add up nicely, and the damage also scales with Double Edge and Liquid Courage masteries. Ihulk also does damage back to himself with these Rage attacks, dealing 553 damage to Hulk for each Rage stack. This is not applied to the first medium attack of a combo, just the second medium and the special attack Rage, and Ihulk cannot KO himself with the self-inflicted damage. This may sound like the worst mechanic that a champion could have, but when we go over the Gamma Radiation next, it'll make more sense. Ihulk also doesn't take recoil damage from Double Edge and Liquid Courage, and instead deals a burst of 1100 damage to himself. It's actually going to be stored as Gamma, so it basically lets him avoid the penalty of using these masteries. Now for Ihulk's persistent Gamma Radiation, it says that maximum strength is equal to 100% of Ihulk's max health. What this is basically saying is that for each Gamma you have is equal to the percentage of Ihulk's health. So when you are calculating how much health Ihulk has, you take his current health plus his stored Gamma. Then 20% of the damage Ihulk takes from being struck is stored as Gamma, so getting hit still lets you build some Gamma. Ihulk will also store 60% of damage from degeneration as Gamma, which makes him a great degen counter, and this can also cheese some situations such as Aspect of Nightmares, where he will bank the Gamma from the degen, but then you'll get your health back when the Aspect of Nightmares expires, so you're kinda double dipping. And then 100% of the self-inflicted damage that you're going to be doing from the Rage stacks is stored as Gamma. So all that self-inflicted damage you'll end up storing away as Gamma and will be later converted back into health. Now let's talk about Immortality. When receiving damage that would knock out Ihulk, he gains Immortality. To access this though, you need to have at least 15 Gamma stored, as Immortality will consume 15 Gamma when activated. When you enter Immortality, you'll go unblockable for 8 seconds, and when it's over, it goes on cooldown for 50 seconds. Also, while immortal, you cannot take any damage, but instead if you do get hit, it'll pull damage from your stored Gamma. And when Immortality expires, you'll consume your Gamma and become invulnerable during a passive regeneration, gaining 5500 health plus a percentage point for each Gamma that was stored. For example, if you have 100 Gamma when going immortal, 15 Gamma will be consumed upon activation of Immortal, leaving you with 85 Gamma. When Immortal is over, you'll gain the 85% health plus 5500 health, leaving you with 95% health. Hopefully all of that wasn't too confusing. Now let's get into his heavy and special attacks. The heavy attack refreshes the Rage timer as well as doubling the current amount of Rage you have built. This is key for his damage cycle. Also, the last hit of Ihulk's heavy gains 1267 attack rating for each Rage that he has, which can be used to cash in your Rage stacks in certain situations. The special one, besides giving a Rage stack for the first hit, has a 60% chance to inflict a stun lasting 1.75 seconds. And special 2 has 100% chance to inflict a 3-second stun, and will also apply suppression debuffs for each Rage Ihulk has up to 14. Each of these suppression debuffs decrease the defensive power rate by 5%, so at max 14 the defender will be gaining 70% less power from being struck. And then SP3 will grant Ihulk 15 Gamma, so it's a nice way to top up on Gamma if you're getting low, as well as inflicting a Petrify debuff, reducing regeneration and power gain rate by 25% for 20 seconds. Now a quick look at his Awakened ability, which is not needed but has some nice bonuses. His signature ability is based upon how much stored Gamma that Ihulk has, and at 25 gamma, his attacks have a chance to stun the defender for 0.75 seconds, scaling up to a 5% chance. At 50 gamma, you apply a weakness debuff when the defender comes out of a stun, scaling up to 45% and lasting for 4 seconds. This will apply if the defender is immune to stun and would have been stunned otherwise. And at 75 gamma, apply a Petrify debuff, reducing regeneration and power gain rate up to 75% at Sig 200. That was quite a bit to go through, so thanks for sticking through it. Now let's look at his abilities in action. First, let's look at building Gamma. You'll gain Gamma from doing the second medium hit in a combo, and the Gamma is equal to the amount of rage that you have. So you see I have done 1k damage to myself, and in turn my Gamma, which is shown in the radiation symbol below my health bar, is at 2. I'm about to do my second medium with 4 rage, and that'll take 4% damage from Ihulk and add 4 Gamma, taking me up to 8. Here is the SP1 with 25 rage. The first hit is a rage attack, so it's going to do 25% damage to Ihulk and also grant 25 Gamma. And then here is the SP2, starting with 14 rage. The SP2 has rage attacks on the first and last hit of the special, so it'll grant 15 Gamma on the first hit and 16 Gamma on the last, for a total of 31 Gamma, also doing 31% damage to Ihulk. Now let's talk about Ihulk's Immortality phase. The whole point of building up all this Gamma and damaging yourself is to be able to go immortal. You want to go immortal with as many rage stacked up as possible, because once you do, you're unblockable and you're able to do a huge burst of damage in a short time. After the immortal phase is over, you're going to regenerate the 85 Gamma into 85% health, plus 5000 health that is given back for the 15 Gamma that was required to enter Immortality, leaving us with 95% health. One of the huge benefits you get from Ihulk's immortal phase is the ability to tank special 3s. So let's say you get a little carried away doing all this damage and you push the defender to SP3. As long as you aren't in cooldown, you're gonna survive. I have 1 health and 83 Gamma when he throws the SP3, so let's see where I'm at after it. Now I'm down to 43 Gamma, and I'll regen 43% plus the 5300 from the 15 Gamma used to activate Immortality. Even if the SP3 damage was 5 million, he would still survive and would regen the 5300 from the 15 Gamma used to gain Immortal. Okay, now I'm going to talk about how to play Ihulk while his Immortality is on cooldown. So if you're playing Ihulk well, you're going to have a pretty big stack of rage by the time Immortality goes on cooldown for 50 seconds. You have to remember that you just did hundreds of thousands of damage, and if the rage falls off, it isn't a problem. However, you can try to keep damage going without doing huge chunks of damage to yourself by only using your first medium, and you can cash them in by landing a heavy, which remember increases the attack on your second hit by 1267 per rage. While on cooldown, you still can do damage back to yourself as long as your rage isn't too high. I throw this SP2 with 6 rage and then avoid doing much damage back by throwing a medium, dashing back, and going in for another medium, and then throwing a heavy to double. So I just got up to 21 rage without doing any damage back to myself on cooldown. And now I'll do medium light intercepts to keep the damage going without taking my own health. This is just the option to maintain high damage output on cooldown, but alternatively you can just play it slow or finish with light attacks until cooldown is over. The last thing I'm going to talk about for the cooldown period is the most important to making them incredibly sustainable. I'm gonna let Winter Soldier hit me, taking all my health down and triggering Immortality. Then I'll show how he can fully recover any amount of damage done very quickly. Now I'm on cooldown with only 15% health. I'm going to build up to my SP2 while avoiding damage back strikes and I want to throw it when my cooldown is about 3/4 of the way finished. The reason you wait for this timing is because I want to do as much damage back rage attacks as possible while at 1% health. When you do this, it adds gamma to your bank while not being able to KO yourself, and you can very quickly refill your gamma. Now I'm ready to throw SP2 and the cooldown is about 3/4 through. I parry, medium, throw heavy to double rage, and cancel heavy to throw SP2. Now I do as much rage damage as possible. If you time things right, by the time you're done with your damage cycle, your cooldown phase will be over and you enter Immortality with full gamma. And now when you come out of Immortality, you'll have healed all the damage that has been taken. If you can pull this off, it might be the most impressive regeneration in the game. Next, let's talk about the heavy attack and when you will want to incorporate it into the rotation. I already mentioned how you can use it while on cooldown to cash in your rage and avoid doing too much damage back to yourself, but it's also very important to use it in conjunction with special attacks to really maximize your damage. Using the heavy before specials is going to allow you to get big stacks of rage going. So here I'm going to build up some rage and then I'll parry, throw a medium into my heavy attack. I'll land only the first hit of the heavy, which will double my rage, and then throw my SP1, which quickly gets me to 19 rage. For SP2 you're going to start the same way by building a few rage, then parry, medium, heavy to double rage, and throw SP2 after the first heavy hit. The SP2 will stun and you can double rage with heavy again, and follow with the combo, and if you have enough power, even throw an SP1. We started that sequence with 4 rage and quickly got up to 25. At this point we've gone over all the basics and it's time to put things together, and I'll show you the rotation that I find to be best with Ihulk. I like to parry and use medium, light, 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 medium 5-hit combos with Ihulk while building up to his SP2. I see many people using parry, medium, medium, or medium, light, medium combos, but in my opinion, this causes the defender to shell up and hold block more often. Now I'm ready to do parry, medium, heavy into the SP2, and since I was able to start with so many rages, I don't need to heavy again after the SP2. I can just land as many mediums as possible while immortal, and finish with SP1. So that fight went really well and the AI cooperated, allowing me to never drop my rage. But something I hear a lot is that people have a hard time keeping the rage going. If you can keep them going, it's great, but in this fight, I'll show that you don't need to stress about them falling off since you can build them so quickly with the SP2 cycle. So things were going great here while I build my rage, but she decides to hold block and I lose all of my stacks. But if I can get 2 rage, then parry, medium, heavy, and cancel into SP2, throw another heavy and combo into my SP1, I'm at 19 rage, and I use the SP1 stun to land mediums and take me into Immortality with a bunch of rage. Now I can smash away until I get the KO. So I didn't need to worry about maintaining rage along the way. Just with 2 rage to start the SP2 cycle was enough to ramp up my damage. Now much of the time with Ihulk you're going to start the fight with 1% health and whatever gamma banked as your actual health. In this case you're going to approach the fight a little different. In this case you're going to go immortal immediately, so you want to do as much damage as you can during this time. I'm almost to my SP2, but I've built up too much rage to throw it during cooldown, since it's going to do a lot of damage to me, so I let it fall off. And now I throw the SP2 with low rage. After the stun, I throw a medium, dash back, and then back in for another medium, and then use a heavy to cash them in. This allows me to do some damage while not doing any damage back to myself. I'll keep an eye on the cooldown timer, and when it's around 3/4 done is when I want to go on the attack with the normal SP2 cycle. Okay, now I'm ready to go into SP2 cycle and keep an eye on my gamma. It was a little low, but by timing my SP2 cycle correctly, I'll be able to fill it all the way back up to 100%. Once that cooldown timer finishes, I'm going to be able to go immortal, and I'm going to have all this rage to do big damage while unblockable. So this, in my opinion, is what you should be looking for when playing Ihulk, and all of these fights are done with Ihulk alone and no synergies. Speaking of which, the last thing I'll talk about in this video is Ihulk synergies. The first synergy with the Marvels gives you a 40% petrify for 8 seconds to start the fight, and it's not very valuable. Next is a 5% health boost with She-Hulk, I-Bomb, and Sasquatch, again, not very valuable. But this next one with Hulkbuster and Black Panther is actually pretty useful by giving Ihulk stuns a 10% increased duration, and I'll show you what you can do with that one. And then the one with Mephisto and Dormammu banks 50% of your health as Gamma at the start of the fight, and I don't find it very valuable. And then there's also this new one with Hercules that is really good. It gives Ihulk 100% perfect block on parry while Immortality is on cooldown. I'll show this one as well. First, looking at the Black Panther synergy giving 10% duration on stuns. Ihulk doesn't actually need any synergies, but the reason that this one is nice to have is that trying to take advantage of doubling rage during the SP2 stun, or even landing the 4 mediums into the 5-hit combo can get tight on timing, so this makes things a little bit less stressful. So I do SP2 as normal, and instead of just doing heavy to start the stun and double the rage, I actually have time to land a medium and then heavy followed by a combo. And then if I don't need to land heavy, I just have much more time to get my combos in during the stun. Next is the Hercules synergy giving perfect block on parry while on cooldown, which is so amazing for Ihulk by allowing him to be more aggressive during cooldown. The perfect block gives much longer parry duration, which you can use to do some pretty cool stuff with. I'm gonna get to cooldown and then I will back off to show what you can do with it. Now that I have perfect blocks on parry and long stuns, I can link 4-hit combos into 5-hit combos for 9-hit combos. You can also do double mediums into heavy and SP2 instead of just one medium. And then if you are really fast, you can do 3 mediums in a row into heavy and SP2 to add 6 rage with 1 parry. This Hercules synergy also just takes away a ton of the vulnerability if you do find yourself in a bad situation with 1% health and on cooldown. So if you are an Ihulk fan, Hercules is a big deal to add to the roster. Alright everyone, that's gonna do it for my Ihulk guide. I really hope that it is helpful, especially for people who are just getting their hands on him. It personally took me some time to realize how I should use him and also realize how great of a champion that he is. and I almost put him on the bench. If this can prevent that from happening for people, I would be very happy. Well, that's it for this video. If you liked it, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.